I'm going to show you a couple swings here. I've been battling COVID for about 5 weeks, and the sun came out. I thought I could get out in the yard and just make an attempt at a swing. So, if you watch closely, I'm folding my arm up and I'm coming down. But I want you to notice where the hands were. Here's a second swing. Also, watch where the hands are. They're two different swings, very different in feel. One was real weak, one's much stronger, capable of hitting a really long ball. And to show you what I mean, let's analyze. We're going to go back to the first one. I'm going to throw some numbers at you, not too many. But on the very first swing at the top, we have 43 X factors. So the pelvis went 52 degrees, which is way too far. You don't need to be that hippie. And the chest turn went 92. If I can get a better stretch, I have a higher X factor. And I'll tell you how that's done as well. But let's go back. I'm going to also run a visual for you real quick, just to give you an example of what the first swing would look like. Okay. And I'll do that once again. First swing. We'll go from down the line. You can see it more clearly. It's kind of a one plane. I come up and down on the same plane. Now let's look at the next swing, and you'll notice a difference, hopefully. So let me show you the same thing. Visual, we can do whatever, sway or whatever. And I'm going to go from down the line, and I'm going to do some numbers for you. Numbers as opposed to if I go to the top, for instance, now you see 47, a bigger chest turn, larger X factor. So really that's the answer. The bigger move back gives you more power forward. You're like a coiling, like a spring. Anatomical trains, you can stretch them and really get some serious power going. And it's just a whole different move. I'm coming more inside with my hands. But then watch. I get back on the same plane as the first one. It's not over the top, because even though my hands went more inside, and I'll show you that again, my body's turning better. My chest is turning better. Get a bigger shoulder turn. And then I loop forward right onto the same plane I did in the first one. So I'm on plane, in other words. And that's my reason for, having power, is I'm able to do that. I can go back to something like that and always have more power. And I'm always able to hit those same lines. It's subtle, but it makes it's important. It's a very subtle thing. It's an old swing I'm comparing it to. It's my one plane. The other one's more of a loop. So you can get extra stretch out of it, not get extra power. Am I saying always go loop inside and then over the top? Lee Como talked about that recently. He moves best doing that. I can do either. But that you get a lot more stretch if you go inside with your hands and then loop out over the top, which is really loop out back on plane. That's the difference. It's a major, major difference. I'm going to go back to those first two swings too, and I'm going to show you something that most people wouldn't notice. And I can look at a swing and say, okay, what's the shaft angle at impact? Well, face on, it says 14, but look at how far back my hands are. So if I brought my hands up to where they should be on a release, now look at the shaft face on. I flipped, in other words. I released early with that first swing. You can see it here. You know, it's just not the same to have your hands here and no shaftling or little shaftling when I get to the ball, which is right here. See, I'm zeroing out. So I'm going to hit, high and weak. You can see my right arm's already extended, my wrist's already extended. Where on the other swing, go back to that quickly, what you're doing really is having your hands further up. So my intent is to get the handle on a certain angle and right to here at address, for instance. And we'll look at the numbers. You can see the shaft angle's at a -11 at address. Well, when I get it back, address to here, and quite literally by the time I'm hitting the ball, getting the hands up here, I have quite a bit. This is where I stand it up here. It's zeroed. But here, I'm going to be at a 13, basically, on the shaft when I get to impact. So I go from 11 to 13. So if I've increased my shaft lean from address, and I'm already leaning to address. Where on the other swing, I'd flipped, and I'm nowhere near that mark. So this is the more powerful swing, bigger X factor. But more importantly, more shaft lean, they handle in front of the ball better. And that's because I made a better turn, a better chest turn. If you don't release and you turn better, and you release later, you get more shaft lean and more compression. It's that simple. I hope that makes some sense for you guys. I'll do the visual one more time. And we'll call it a day on this. Thanks for watching.